In this episode, I'm talking to Sasha Magee. Sasha is an executive at a large hospital system with a decade of negotiation experience. She's passionate about negotiations. She creates value and creative solutions for all by thinking strategically, and she shares with us what is the mindset secret that has allowed her to rise and secure higher and higher positions throughout her career. Most importantly, she gives us tips and tricks on how to advocate for yourself. Let's get started.
Securing a big salary should be as easy as asking for more, right? Turns out it's a little bit more than that. First, let me ask you, which of these apply to you? Reading org announcements with envy as other people get promoted? Working long hours with little to show for it? Getting more degrees hoping to be seen? Don't feel bad. I made the same mistake myself without even realizing it. And it's not your fault. In this podcast, I'm going to help you master the strategy and techniques on how to get promoted, how to double your paycheck, and how to secure more flexibility without adding more work or more degrees.
You are listening to Salary Negotiations Made Simple, the show that builds your confidence and inspires you to negotiate for the career you deserve. Do you want to double your salary, secure an ideal career, and increase your confidence to powerfully negotiate every career move? Then you are in exactly the right place.
Hi, Sasha. Great to have you in the studio. Welcome.
Hi, Dorothy. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Will you get us started with a quick introduction about you, who you are, and what do you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Sasha, and I'm currently acting as the Director of Category Management over pharmacy and some direct spend categories for a large hospital system. But before shifting into this role, I spent a decade doing sourcing and negotiations. I also teach adjunct for the University of Dayton School of Law. I've taught negotiations and contract drafting, which really dovetail into each other really nicely. And I do a lot of volunteer and kind of side work in that space to negotiations and contracts. So I can just say that negotiations is my passion. I love figuring out the strategy behind a negotiation, figuring out how to create value instead of eroding value through your negotiations, and getting out of that really stuck them versus us mindset that really prevents us from finding positive, creative solutions for everyone involved.
Love that. And that is exactly what we're going to talk about is negotiations, but not necessarily for a business, but for our own selves and advocating for ourselves in a salary discussion or securing a title or a promotion. So, Sasha, one of the things I've seen is your own rise through the ranks in corporate America. You've done very well for yourself. You're an executive at a very young age, I would say. What is the secret? What is the mindset that you carry with you that has allowed you to do that?
Yeah, thank you, Dorothy. That's really nice. I think there are a couple of things, right? We obviously just working hard. I think we all know that, right? But we also see people that we work with who work super hard and they're very smart and they aren't getting those opportunities or moving up or finding those ways to advocate for themselves, really. And I think it's a couple of things. I think it's about being willing to promote yourself, which can be really hard. It can be really hard, especially for women. I'm just going to put that out there. A lot of times women, we share credit. We are very collaborative. It can be really uncomfortable for us to kind of just really own messaging what we've done and what our accomplishments are. And so being able to easily speak to what your strengths are, what your successes have been, what your wins have been, and be able to do that quickly and effectively. So elevator pitch style for big successes. I think also developing other advocates. So networking and really being engaged in the industry you want to be in, like genuinely being engaged. You will find people to advocate for, and you'll find people who will become part of your team and advocate for you. And then obviously being strategic about your negotiations, which Dorothy, you've put out such great information about how to do that and how to successfully do that for yourself, not just for others.
Yeah. I really want to dig a little bit deeper on this concept of promoting yourself, right? What are some of the challenges that you had to overcome when you first maybe went about talking about your accomplishments?
Yeah, I think sometimes it can feel uncomfortable, right? To just kind of walk into a room and say, this is who I am and this is what I've done. And I see this a lot as somebody who hires people now. When people talk about their projects, or when they're answering interview questions, they really message things in a teamwork mindset, which most of us work in teams. Most of us aren't doing projects in a vacuum where we don't have teammates, or we don't have cross collaboration, or we don't have people supporting us. But that framing really takes away the power behind what you did. And I think it's absolutely appropriate and right, in fact, to indicate if there was a team involved in a project, but highlight what you did for that team or within that team. Highlight what you brought to the table. And I think that you just have to practice it and get comfortable being uncomfortable with it a little bit. And you're going to have moments when you start shifting the way you frame what you say, where it feels really awkward or uncomfortable. But the more you do it, the less it feels uncomfortable. So just practice it. Practice it in like low stakes settings. Practice it when you're telling your spouse, your friends about your work. Practice it when you're talking to colleagues about projects you're working on. Practice doing it for other people, because a lot of us are really good at advocating for our companies or for our direct reports or for our family. We have no problem saying, so-and-so is amazing and they did this project and they did such a good job in it, blah, 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 and not even mentioning that person's team that also worked on the project, right? When it comes to doing that for ourselves, we're just not as good at it because it feels awkward. It's just practice.
Do you think I statements would help, like to just get somebody started? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think I statements are a really good first start. I think also quantifying the value that you added to something. So maybe there was a huge team that worked on this big process improvement. What did you tangibly contribute to that? Did you create the framework? Did you provide the project management? Did you find the opportunity that created the team? Like just trying to tangibly identify what that tangible thing is that you provided helps craft that I statement.
Love it. Love it. Quantity, then, and the more you can speak with data, the more persuasive you are. So absolutely agree with you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned about getting sponsors or other people to talk about you and your efforts. Is there a good way and a bad way to do that? How do you secure those sponsorships?
I think it's about being genuine, right? So when somebody approaches you and says, hey, I want you to support me in doing this, if you don't already have a relationship, you haven't already seen that person's work, you haven't already interacted with that person, it feels very uncomfortable. I find a lot of times formal mentor programs can feel uncomfortable. You might have a few success stories and you have a bunch of those relationships that never worked out because it wasn't genuine. It was, hey, you and you are going to be mentor mentee and you're going to do this created program. I think if you're really passionate about the work or the company or the field that you're in, genuinely engaging with other people who are doing work that you're interested in and excited about, you will just start to form some of those connections where people want to support you and you want to support them. And it feels very authentic and organic. Now, again, if you're not in that place already, that can feel daunting. And I would say just start small. Get on LinkedIn and follow some groups that are interesting to you. Follow content creators that are interesting to you. Start creating content that's interesting to you and start creating connections with people who can create connections for you and speak about you in other rooms that you're not in.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, start small, like you said, right? Just start following, and it's one thing is going to lead to the other.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Now, you said you're hiring now, or you have people who report to you. What is your coaching to people who shy away from advocating for themselves, in whether it's for a title or a raise?
Yeah, so I've been leading negotiation teams or participating in negotiation teams for 10 years. It's only the last few years I've been formally leading them, but informally mentoring and teaching and coaching people for a very long time. And I think I meet a lot of people for whom it's really easy for us to advocate for our companies, right? You're going to the negotiation table and we're advocating for, the nonprofit that we work for or the company that we work for or the goals that we have to hit to be successful in our career. And they don't necessarily apply that exact same mindset to themselves. And so I like to help them think about, how do you create leverage? The same way that we create leverage in a business negotiation when you're trying to think about, okay, what do I need? What is my least desirable outcome? What is my most desirable outcome? What's my alternative if I don't get what I want? I think a lot of times we put this like big personal pressure on ourselves, especially when it comes to our careers and our jobs. And I see people who just want the job so much that they're not even thinking about, is this a good fit for me? What value am I bringing? What value is the company bringing to me? And so I really encourage people, if you're thinking about a negotiation, whether it's for yourself or for anything else, just think about that leverage. Think about what value am I bringing? And then when you think about negotiating your salary or negotiating for a promotion or an increase, think about what is the company looking for? What's their business case? Everybody's looking for a good return on investment. So what is the unique value that you're bringing? What experiences you have? What successes have you had? What interesting ideas you have? Like, look deeper than the job description and understand, what could I bring to this position that they're going to feel like they got a deal while still paying me what I'm looking for or more, and kind of creating that business case for yourself. And I think depersonalizing a little bit takes all that emotional pressure off. Like, you are an asset and they want to purchase an asset. So how do you frame that in a way that you are what they're looking for? And how do you also assess them to make sure that they are what you're looking for too?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that, because I think emotions do get involved, and we've got to, it's not that you cannot have emotions, because it is your job, your career, your life, but there is maybe a balance, I think you're saying, right? That where you depersonalize a little bit from the outcomes.
Yeah. I think sometimes when we get emotional about something in a negotiation, we make bad decisions. We forget what our least desirable outcome was or our most desirable outcome. We forget what our value is. We just want that job, so we take a pay that's lower than what we wanted, or we want to feel like we're successful and get a promotion. And I think that when we let our emotions drive those decisions, we leave value on the table.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Could you walk us through maybe one or two instances where you got the next promotion? Like, what was your approach to getting a promotion within your own career?
Yeah, I think there's like an age-old saying that says, show up for the job you want, not the job you have. And that feels very cliche, right? But at the end of the day, that really is what I think helps. So you look at your job and you look at what your manager is doing and you think, what can I do to take something off my manager's plate? What can I do that'll help me grow while also helping my manager? What can I do that will show my manager that I'm ready for the next role? And so I think thinking about what you want and where you want to go, and starting to go ahead and take on some of those responsibilities or take on some of that work and really demonstrate what you're capable of. I think also just being verbal about what you want. Not everybody is looking for a promotion, and promotion isn't always on your manager's radar.
Mm-hmm.
So your leaders might be more worried about goals or budget or other things, and they're not even necessarily always thinking about what you want, but making sure that you're having career focused, not project focused touch bases with your leader, making sure that they're helping you get projects that'll help develop you for the next step that you're interested in, and that they know that and they're reminded of it, so that when they're in a room and a conversation is happening, it's obvious and on the front of their mind. Oh, so-and-so was very interested in this kind of an opportunity. It's not always a role. Sometimes it's a project. Sometimes it's an opportunity to take on responsibility for someone who's on maternity leave or, out of office or something like that. But if your goals are forefront in their mind, then they don't have to work to find things for you. Again, it'll start to happen more organically.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. So do you have any opinion on what is sometimes referred to in the marketplace as like a dry promotion, right? You didn't get necessarily I guess maybe a bigger title, but not enough money, not extra money, or you got some extra money, but no other title. It's like, how should people decipher that opportunity as whether it's kind of a dead end or if it's actually truly an opportunity to the next level?
That's a great question. And Dorothy, I'll be honest, I at one point in my career took a job that was lower pay. I took the lower pay because the opportunity was what I needed to advance my career. And I wasn't finding opportunities to advance my career where somebody was willing to take a chance on me at the pay rate I really wanted. I said, I'm going to take this opportunity. I'm going to use it to develop as much experience as I need so that the next round, not only will I get what I wanted this round, but I'll get more than that. And that did work for me. I had about 2 years where I took lower pay, and then I had a lot of opportunities after that. And so I think a lot of times we get stuck on the salary, and the salary is super important, right? You don't want to undervalue yourself. You don't want to undercut yourself. But again, if you know what your goals are, then you can strategically decide when it makes sense to look at something that's not everything you want. And I also think sometimes we get stuck on salary and forget about the value of benefits. So I also at one point in my career took a job that had a great salary and didn't fully calculate out what those lower healthcare benefits would end up costing me over time. And so I think we really have to think about salary, but think about the other benefits, like tangible benefits like healthcare, retirement, leave options, PTO, but also those less tangible benefits. Are you working on work that excites you versus maybe getting higher paid to do work that you dread? Do you get to live somewhere you want to live? Or do you have to live somewhere that's not as favorable for you? Do you have the flexibility to spend time with your family that maybe a different paying job wouldn't give you? And so really creating that full picture of what you want for your life and what aspects are valuable to you. And that's going to be so different for each person. But I think ultimately, if you get back to your original question, if you get a promotion that maybe didn't have everything you wanted and you took that promotion, right? Why did you take it? And just do some introspection on, did you take it and now you're going to leverage that for something else? Awesome. Then really focus on leaning into the opportunities that'll grow you for the next role. Did you take it because you didn't know what else to do? Maybe you should talk to a career coach and think about pivoting or changing the direction you went. Or did you take it because honestly you love the work and there wasn't anywhere else you could go with that negotiation? You negotiated as hard as you could, got as much as you thought you could, and it just was what it was. Sometimes that happens too. But I think at the end of the day, you need to look at that full picture and decide, right, are you happy with the full picture? And if you're not, what are you going to take out of that experience? And then what are you going to do differently next round?
This is such an astute point, right? We spend a lot of time in my coaching business on figuring out your want portfolio because, like you said, it's different for everybody. For some people, it's purely the dollars. Give me the dollars, and I don't care about anything else. But for some people, like total compensation means a lot. Like you said, the kind of people you work with, or maybe the manager you have. So it's so important to spend some time reflecting on that. Before you dive right in, and then you can call something a success or not a success.
And I think if you always have a growth mindset that you're going to take something away from your experience, then you can find success in all of your experiences, right? So that time I took a pay cut, there was a period of time right after I took it that I thought, why didn't I wait longer? Why didn't I try harder to find something? But then I thought, you know what? It was good for me to get something different. That move helped me move to where I wanted to live, which had a totally different cost of living and different pay profile. Like there were a lot of those intangible things. And like I said, I wasn't finding great opportunities with the title I wanted at the pay I wanted. And once I got the title again and the tangible experiences I could speak to and speak those successes, more doors started opening. And so I think just whatever situation you're in, having that growth mindset, having that thought of I'm going to lean in because for whatever reason, I did take this job or I did take this promotion or I didn't get the job I wanted. I'm still here where I was trying to leave, whatever that looks like. How can I lean in and create value where I'm at? And when you start having that value creation mindset, it actually becomes very natural in your negotiations too, because when you start interviewing or negotiating salary, you're already thinking about the value that comes with you.
Yeah, you get very creative, right? And how you structure a deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think creativity matters a lot too, right? Yeah. It's very easy for people to say, I want X dollars. And then the company says, we're only going to pay X dollars. And you start going back and forth. And that's even in my work life, when you get into that tit for tat where you're just trying to like squeeze 5% back and forth, you're not really creating value. So how do you create value? How do you say, like, in your job description, you want this, and this is what I'm bringing to the table. And it's what you're looking for, but it's this other stuff. How do you really listen to those interview questions to understand what are they looking for that's not in that job description, that you can say, oh, and you mentioned this, by the way, I have experience doing that, that they can become excited. So then you can get out of that tit for tat 5% mindset. And a lot of times in salary negotiations, you're negotiating more with HR than the hiring manager. But if that hiring manager is excited about you, you've created an advocate.
So powerful. If that hiring manager advocates for you internally. Yeah.
And as a hiring manager, that's what I do. If I'm, it's a good candidate and they're solid, I'll throw it at HR and let them do the offer. But if it's someone I'm excited about, I'll go ahead and tell HR, like, let's start with this, I go up to this, but don't say no until you come back and talk to me because I want this person.
Yes. And you're the one, as a hiring manager, you're the one who's feeling the pain of not having that person in the seat, right? So
Yes,
if you're excited about
exactly.
somebody, then you'll go to bat for them.
When we talk about hiring managers, another fact, you mentioned promotions, which is very internal. And I think if you're internal, you have better insight as to how those conversations are happening, right? So some companies, it's completely up to the HR manager and their budget. Some companies, it's really driven by HR and equity reviews and comparisons. And so if you're internal, really understand, talk to people and understand, how do decisions on salary become made? Like, what are the factors? Who controls what aspect of it? And then you can create your business case for why you deserve what you're asking for.
Yeah. Absolutely. And again, going back to the creativity, perhaps, right? Maybe there is no room in the budget for an exact base salary increase, but maybe there are other things that they can do for you.
Yeah. PTO.
PTO. Yeah. It's a great one.
Flexible work schedules, things like that.
What is one thing you would advise our listeners to go do after they hear this podcast? Is there something that they could do that can help either their confidence, their mindset, or how they show up for themselves at work?
Yeah, I think start creating your business case. Like, look at yourself as an asset. Like, you are an asset. Just start making your business case. When you complete awesome projects, go ahead and write them down. When you do any kind of personal development, write that down and just create your business case and think about, what is the return that I'm bringing? Like, what is the value that I'm creating? And just continue to have a positive mindset about yourself and what you can bring to the table, and lean in to what you're interested in, because that's where you're really going to thrive. So when you have that genuine passion and you genuinely want to learn and grow, and you're doing things that other people aren't doing because you're so excited about creating things and being involved and being invested, and invest in some other people. It feels so good when you invest in other people and you see how much it helps them and inspires them, and the value that you create by investing in other people. And I promise you, when you start having that mindset, other people will start investing in you.
Absolutely. Paying it forward. Absolutely. It's such a great feeling. Yeah. Well, thank you, Sasha, for such great nuggets. If someone wants to connect with you, how can they find you?
They are welcome to reach out to me on LinkedIn. That's where I'm pretty active. I'm happy to talk to anybody. And like I said, I do some side consulting work in the negotiations and contract space. And I've got some exciting stuff that I'm working on, I'm hoping to launch later this year. So give me a follow, and I'd love to hear from anyone who's interested in negotiations or learning how to really be their best advocate.
Thank you. And of course, we'll link everything in the show notes. Thank you so much again.
Thank you, Dorothy. It was so great to talk to you. And honestly, your content has been so valuable for me. So I just appreciate everything you're putting out there.
Thank you so much, Sasha.
Thanks, Dorothy.
There you have it, my friends. Some great insider tips and tricks from someone who has been negotiating all her life. I hope you got inspiration as well as some actionable tips and tricks today. Thanks for listening, and bye for now.
There you have it, my friends. As you know, I'm on a mission to close the pay gap. Every podcast episode is designed to give you the tools, techniques, and inspiration so you can bravely advocate for yourself. Thank you for listening, and bye for now.